What's up, Abhi? Welcome to the Love All Life podcast. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, G-Man.
Yeah, man. I know it's been a minute. I think we saw each other last in Indian Wells around 2 years ago when I was trying
Yes.
with Emma. And I know you were a hitting partner for that event, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I know it was a fun event. I know you're still playing on the UTR circuit, if I said that correctly. You're still
Yeah.
playing? Okay.
Yeah. Like mostly it's called the PTT UTR Pro Tennis Tour, and I play. I love competing, so I just try to get out there whenever I can. Whenever there's an opportunity.
Nice, man. Now, I can say the same thing myself, not competing as much, but working at a full-time academy with juniors and pros, a still blessing. And I still thank God every day that I could use not only my gifts and talents to help people in the tennis world as you're doing. And with that being said, I want to get into your personal story, how you got into tennis and what your overall background is, because I find a lot of times, obviously, when I'm competing against former peers, I just assume that they have kind of the same upbringing of how to play tennis, but that's just not the case. So give us a little bit of background of where you're from, how you came into tennis, and what inspired you to play.
Okay. So I'm from Pokhara. I was born in Hong Kong, and I'm originally from Pokhara, Nepal. So that's where I started my tennis journey. At that time, there was only like 3 or 4 tennis court in the whole city, and my uncle had a tennis court. My dad used to play recreationally. Before tennis, I liked playing cricket. So cricket is very big in India and Nepal. Just
Nice.
on the street, I would ask like my uncle, my cousin, brothers, anybody to just like a ball, so I could bat. And when I was a kid, my dad played, and I just followed him, and I started picking his rackets, swinging, and just taking lessons, like a group lesson. But it wasn't like the tennis wasn't that big, or we didn't have like structure and stuff. So what really got me like playing more seriously was when I started. I got into under 14 team to represent Nepal in like Asia World Tennis Junior, and after that I just felt like I want to break barriers or like do something in tennis. So that's how basically I got into tennis. From coming from a place with only 3 4 tennis court, no like structure, no pro tennis. Just my hunger, and hopefully, I mean, I've been blessed to have parents that understand. My parents played badminton. I mean, my mom in the beginning told me like, "Oh, don't play tennis. Like, there's no future or and stuff." They didn't know what college tennis was and stuff like that, and it's like an insane idea for like Nepali to kind of like pursue like tennis, because as you know, like tennis, only 100 male and female make a living,
Wow.
and
That's crazy.
coming from a country with like I mean, we didn't even have like somebody who was like a 10 UTR or 11 UTR before, so like place like that, and then there's a saying that like finding the light at the end of the tunnel. So I think for me that was like college tennis, and I think just coming to US was a great opportunity for me to develop my game, and I think I grew a lot as a player here, competing a lot of matches. Back in Nepal, like we had maybe 2 tournaments a year, so you know how much pressure it puts, like to do well. So I think I lacked a lot of matches. I was a great athlete, and then I moved to US when I was 18 years old in 2016. So I got since then, like I think I was a good player, but I was just not able to put it together because I didn't play a lot of matches. And so basically, yeah, that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Dude, that's pretty cool. And I relate to the athletic background. I never played cricket or any of those type of sports before, but I grew up playing sports like basketball soccer, football. Those were the hand-eye coordination sports, along with the footwork. And I can remember as a kid, I wasn't the greatest tennis player, especially when I started, but I was a good enough athlete to pick it up right away and understand that the game was about movement. And I kept playing those sports and I didn't know what I was getting into, just like you, but I had a passion to be an athlete and want to do well. And so I want to encourage everyone who's listening to this, no matter what background you're from, it's not always about having the bells and whistles. And of course, with your background, you didn't have as many courts, you didn't have the resources of or the facilities to really do what, let's say, the average American could do in terms of a tennis perspective. So that's great to hear that you were resourceful. And I look back at my job, I wish I was, a little bit more resourceful in some areas, or understanding that I didn't need all of the bells and whistles of what, let's say, maybe an academy player had, even though I did have structured training. So that's pretty cool. So with that, talk about your mentality in terms of not having as much as, let's say, a kid in the Western world or someone who's growing up in Florida. Because when I work with kids today, they don't understand how good they have it. We have around 9 clay courts, 7 hard courts in just one facility. And they also have a mental coach. And this is all in an academy setting. And I'm telling you this because most of us didn't grow up with this. So with the question that I want to ask you is, how did you manage to have a strong mentality knowing that you didn't have everything you really needed to become a successful tennis player?
Yeah, great question. And I think one thing I forgot to mention in the beginning was my dad saw my hunger like in tennis. I just love the sport, and like I was like willing to do anything. Like if I didn't get to play tennis, I would cry. Coming back home, and I was young. I was like 11 or 12 years old in Nepal. There was only one course, so like the adults would not let me play, and nobody wants to play with a kid, right? Like at 11, and they would kind of get embarrassed if they like lose to a kid. But deep down, I always had this belief that, oh, I'm gonna like beat them. So I think a lot of the times that happened, and then my dad built a wall at my home, so I was hitting a lot with the wall, just me and the wall, like 3 4 hours every day. Like I would look at YouTube videos and then just try to like copy, like, Djokovic forehand, backhand. And, my dad and mom, they were badminton players. So they kind of, my dad especially instilled this like good mentality, like mindset in me that like there's no shortcut to success. So I just did everything that I could. So I was hitting with the wall a lot. So I think that way I developed certain like strokes. I was just building, like I was getting good reputation, like eye hand coordination. And in Nepal, we had a hill. Like, I mean, so I would like run like hill sprint a lot. Just kind of like, 100 years back, how the boxers would train, like sort of like that.
Yeah,
I
old
was
school. I love it.
old school, just, but yeah, I just didn't know any better. So I just did everything I could and just try to soak in as much as I can. I would ask question, to like foreign coaches and stuff, like what I can do and stuff. And then if they tell me, oh, you have to do like ABC, let's say for instance, oh, you have to do a in like suicide in like, let's say 17th in like 50 seconds, like 10 times, meaning, so I would like try to like, check that box, things like that. And
Nice.
it's just like, or someone told me, oh, if it's like low to high or this and that, so I would just like have somebody like just practice with the wall, just visualize myself, because and then I didn't know where tennis was gonna take me. So that was just the mindset that I've had, and I didn't take anything for granted. And I think having that like seeing that from Nepal and then like coming here, I just feel like a kid in a Disneyland, like there's a court everywhere, like 2 3 minutes from here, like open courts, like parks. You don't really have to pay for the courts and stuff. And other thing was, in Nepal, there was only clay courts, and there was about 15 tennis court in the whole country. So it wasn't proper clay either. So where like it was more like a rock course, where you don't know where the ball is going to bounce, so I think that helped my footwork a lot, because it was good and bad, because I had to wait a lot, because in altitude the ball is pretty bouncy, right? So, but you don't know where the ball is going to bounce, so you're constantly kind of alert, you know. But yeah, I think here, I think coming from Nepal, like I see the facilities here, and it's world class. There's great coaches. I mean, there's guys like you. I mean, you're gonna probably beat like 95% of the juniors or even more. So just having that, like, if there was somebody in Nepal that would beat me, I would pay a lot of money to just kind of play sets or 2 3 sets every week. And I didn't really have that. Like, I was always like the best junior, like the best men's player, and like having that experience in practice, like, makes the tournament, like, it's easy to see the tournament. So for me, like, if I lose to some, like, and I was journaling a lot, meaning like what happened in the match, what I can do, like, improve, so that way, like, next time I'm playing, even though I'm losing, like, I'm trying to progress the right direction. I think yeah, like, it's just a combination of things, and it's just about this mindset, just trying to get 1% better, like, however I can, I just if that meant sleeping early, eating clean, and for me, it just felt like my parents, like, gave me this freedom to play tennis, because it's kind of unheard in Nepal. Like, I wanted to make them proud, or deep down, like I don't want to die playing at this level. That was the mindset that I've had, and then I think that uh, that was the reason. Like, I'm the first Nepali to play, call it NCAA D1, like, athlete ever. That was a big moment for me, like my family. I think people don't know what like Division 1 tennis is, and then how much, like, effort it takes. Another thing was, I started very late too, like around 13 or 14, to play seriously. So and a big thing was, when I moved to Florida when I was 18 years old. I got a scholarship in a junior college. So that 1.5 years, I was playing men's open in Florida every weekend, because I was a good I was a good player, but I was not able to put it together to win matches. So I think playing a lot of matches, like the men's open, like what is it, Plantation,
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm familiar with
Poca,
those. Yep.
yeah, like, at any level, like, whoever it is, I think I would win 2 matches, 3 matches, and lose one. So I think just just seeing that level, like, playing different matches, and I think playing matches is very important, because it's very practical, because I mean, some players, they shy away from, like, competing. They don't want to, like, put them self out there. For me, like, sometimes, even if I'm not prepared, I like to go out there and just figure it out, like, problem solve during the match. And I mean, everybody feels the pressure, the nerves, but I think the better players, they know how to, like, manage themselves, like the emotions, like, tactically make the opponent play bad. And I think these are skills, like, I think you develop playing a lot of matches, and staying calm under pressure, things like that. And also, like, serving and returning, like, tactical part, because in tennis, you can be a great athlete, but if you don't have certain skills, like, if you don't have a good serve and return, like the earlier stages of point, you're not going to get into the later stages of point. So I think later on, over the years, I think I started I mean, I was more intentional with my practice, instead of hitting like 20, 30 balls, like, maybe serving out wide, like mid court, hitting it to the open court, things like that. Like, practicing a lot of returns, so that way I can maximize my full potential, because I'm a good athlete. I can, like, run like 3 4 hours, but then I have to, you know, be better at the earlier stage of point to get to the later stages of points. So
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. And that's awesome when you talk about the visualization part and journaling. We try to get our kids at the LZP Academy to journal. And to them, it's a pain because, I have to write and have to jot down not just match strategy, but their thoughts, what they're thinking mentally, how are they trying to impose their will physically on their opponent. There's a lot, as you know. And then when you write that down and you're trying to put it all together, now you have to win a tennis match. And of course, you know that all too well. I know that especially from playing junior tennis and then going into Division I college tennis, which becomes even tougher because now you're not just playing for yourself, you're playing for a team. And leading into that, what led you to going D1 and how did you get there? What was that process like?
Yeah, so after I finished my 10th grade and then 2 years, I took a gap. I was just playing tennis. And then I did an online school, and then I was not eligible for D1 right away. And I think my level wasn't, I was just like kind of, like I don't think I would have gotten into a good D1 school. So I went to a junior college. I got my associate degree, and then I was eligible for a D1 school. And I think playing a lot of men's open, I think my UTR kind of improved, and I had some good enough wins, like kids who are like top 10 in 18s, so I think so that way I was always under the radar, but just having some of these wins, like I think helps the coach, like and also being from Nepal, that okay, like there's an like opportunity if he's hungry, like if he can develop him, then he could be good. And I always have this, like I always had pro aspiration, after college I wanted to play like pro tennis. So yeah, and like when I was in junior college, I was emailing a lot of coaches, anyone, like just like I'm interested, and obviously the scholarship and everything that matters. So I got a scholarship at University of Texas Arlington.
Awesome.
And right after junior college, like especially me being an international student, like I have to maintain my visa. I could not be like out of status, otherwise I had to go back to Nepal. So I think like at the right time, I got a scholarship at UT Arlington. I played there for 1 year, and yeah, it was a great experience. A lot of great guys on the team. I mean, they were really good tennis players. I think our number one guy was around 600-700 ATP. So just seeing that and being in the team, the training was super intense. I wasn't prepared, but I think like the college resources helped me a lot. I mean, you have athletic trainer, you have like 2 3 coaches. I mean, you have to balance academics and stuff. And after 1 year, I transferred to St. Mary's College of California. It's closer to Berkeley in Moraga, California. So I played my last 2 years there. I graduated during COVID time. I wish I could play at a better school. There's always that. But I'm happy how I mean, when I was in Pokhara, Nepal, I didn't even know what. When I was like a kid, I didn't even know what college tennis was, and I mean, like 10 15 years later, I'm like like graduating from a D1 school, like first Nepali ever athlete ever to graduate from a D1 school. So it was I feel like I'm constantly breaking barrier, and I think it's like it's not where you start, it's like where you finish. And I think just seeing that, like being from Nepal, like seeing that how life is in Nepal, it just gives me like, when I'm here in US, I don't take anything for granted. When I meet people, I just say hi. I just want to, I think I'm naturally very curious person, and very like willingness to learn on anything, whether it's technique, tactic, emotional, or like just and on the court, I over the years I felt like I've become more alive when I play tennis. Just yeah, I think I guess that's maturing as well. So that's it's tennis is a self discovery, for me, and I'm always constantly learning, adjusting, adapt.
Amazing story. And you hit it on the nail. Tennis is self discovery. Looking back at my journey when I started, I had to figure some things out on my own. My father was my coach, and he coached me from the time I was 7 to 16, 17, and then helped me out during and after college. But as you know, tennis is the hardest sport in the world. And when you're trying to navigate this sport specifically, And if you don't know everything that you're getting into, you got to have somewhat of a blind faith to believe that you're going to get it. It's just a matter of time. And with your story, obviously, going from Texas, Arlington, and then to another school, dealing with the trials and tribulations of not only just experiencing college D1 tennis, but being with different teammates, going to a different atmosphere, learning how to conquer something new in a new state, new atmosphere, new conference. That's very tough. And for the kids and juniors that want to go to college, I say you got to be willing to take some bumps and bruises and learn when you fail. Be willing to, like you said, self discover what works for you and what doesn't. And that's
Right.
what I believe, as you know, makes or breaks a player. It's not so much obviously the ground strokes at that level when you're reaching new heights. Everyone can hit forehands and backhands, tweeners, special shots, but can they manage their mind and can they believe that they can compete at a level? And so kudos to you on that in the journey because everyone is different. And outside of college tennis, I like to dive into how tennis has helped people off the court because, as you know, yes, the sport is very difficult, but we also have values outside the court. So, what would you say your why is for why you play tennis? And what are some of the values that you have that are anchored in your heart that you live by off the court?
Great question. So I think my why is like, uh, I wanna uh, I wanna live a legacy, in Nepal. Like, and obviously I wanna give back to the community because of I think where I am, because of tennis and tennis. Like I've lived this experience, like I've been to 35, 40 countries playing tennis. He won, like, represented Nepal in, Asian Games, Davis Cup. The highs have been like really high for me. Playing for something bigger than myself, like my school, like my country. So obviously I would want more kids to have the opportunity. Obviously I've lived this experience, and I don't have the ATP level experience yet, but then I think I have I've played guys who are like 200, 300. So obviously I've seen the levels. I want to give back to Nepal, so that I think that's so one day maybe I would love to see a kid from Nepal, following my footsteps and maybe playing D1 tennis and or pro tennis. So, and other values, ethics, I would say, like, for me, like whether it's on and off the court, I just wanna like live 200%, like whatever I'm doing, and then just leave the court like a champ, walk off the court like a champion. Whether it's like whatever I'm doing, I think I just give my 200%. Otherwise I wouldn't commit. If I'm doing, I would give my 200%. And then whether if I win or lose, like I wanna feel that I left it all, and yeah, that's it. And then I think that's I would say that's how I live. I don't want to feel like, oh, I could have given more. I think that's not a good feeling to have. And I think when you do that for a longer period of time, you're gonna, I think, get closer to your full potential.
That's gold advice, man. And for the youngins that are listening to this, and don't give up on your dreams and don't think that just because you get it wrong that it's over. You got to have a why. You got to have a reason for why you're doing things. I say, personally for me, my faith in Jesus Christ and understanding what God has put me here, not just to hit a ball on the tennis court, but to understand is my value, is my why, for why I'm on the court bigger. And if it's not, then obviously I have to evaluate my identity. And that's what you have done very well, Abby, and continue to do. And this is also encouragement for those, if you don't have a why, if you don't have values, if you don't have something that's bigger than yourself, it's going to be hard, I feel like, in my opinion, to compete on the court because it's just going to be about winning and losing. And I've been down that road. It's hard. You have as well, where you might be stuck, in a place where you just want the results, and we all get there from time to time. But again, big time credit to you, Abby, for sticking with the journey. It really doesn't matter, how high or how low, you are in the tennis journey. The inspiration that you have inside of you to carry on to compete and inspire the next generation is already incredible. And with that, what would you give a junior in terms of the best advice that you would, let's say, give if you really wanted them to become successful? What would your best advice be in terms of developing them on and off the court?
I would say like they need, I think, first thing, I think it's like you cannot force them. The kid needs to like want it from from the inside, and then obviously they need to have a good environment, like good people around them, to someone who is like instilling good value ethics, in them, because like I would say if you don't have that, like it's very difficult, because it can be false confidence and a lot of the other stuff. And for me, like losing, like losing close matches, I've always view losing as like a learning, like, so
Yep, I
as a
totally
player, like
agree.
I think you need to have this mindset of like, you're like winning is also learning, like losing is also learning, if you're doing like what's like you said, what's working, what doesn't, it's a lot. So and I would say like doing more intentional drills, especially in like not just hitting, like like down the middle for an hour and not even serving and returning. I think like spending more time serving and returning, strengthening their strengths, and then like obviously working on their weakness. So I think in tennis you need to have a complete game, and then like as you have your identity, you like kind of like work towards like, whether it's like serve and volley or like aggressive, but once you have a you need to have a complete game. First of all, you can't have like, a weak backhand and expect, to play at a, even D1 level, because I think soon, like, the guys are gonna like expose that side more. So I would say off the court, uh I think learning, like focus, I think I see a lot of juniors, their attention span is very little, and tennis matches like are 3 4 hour belief is obviously one thing, but then I see like juniors losing focus a lot, and tennis requires like, if you lose focus, I mean, like 3 4 points, you gotta come back quickly. You can't like dwell on the miss shot, at like a deuce and you lost that game. You gotta let go of that and then come back quickly. Or if you hit a great shot, you can't be too happy about that, but you have a point to play
Hmm.
next. So I
Yep.
think for me, like being neutral helps me a lot, like not being so up and down. I would say. But some they I think it's very like it depend on the personality. Some people they like energy, they want, like, I think it kind of helps them, kind of screaming, yelling. Someone like Lerner Tian is just like, is very like, it feels like low energy, but then he's out there competing. So I would say the ability to learn to focus, so I would say like meditating, breath work. I think if you start early, I think that's gonna compound over time, and then it helps, like I would say, junior become more sharp. So I would say practice meditating and being more mindful on things like, less cell phones. I think I see kids like,
I agree. Completely agree. Preach it, dude.
I mean, meaning like they wake up cell phone, and you kind of become dull, over time. And like for me, I try to be out there in the nature, maybe swimming, just feel like I'm connected with my breath, like with myself. So I think, yeah, meditation and being mindful is and focus. That's my advice. Because if you're not in a good place mentally, like it doesn't matter how physically fit you are, like you're not gonna play your best tennis, but if you're physically like okay, and but mentally in a very like good headspace, you're gonna play some good tennis and you're gonna have a lot of fun, like while competing as well.
Love it, man. That's advice that could last for the ages. Meditating, really understanding how to manage yourself on and off the court, managing distractions, and learning how to compete to the best of your ability, no matter what result you get, I think is so important. It's a great lesson for juniors to learn, even for college players and pro players. You see it in every level where if someone is dealing with distractions or if they're not understanding how to manage themselves, things can go wrong very quickly. I've been in that sphere. I know what that's like. But I also know how to reel in. You know how to reel in and understand what ticks you, what you have to do personally. Again, everyone's journey is different. I really want to be clear with that as we're speaking. And Abhi, as you know, has a great story coming from Nepal, becoming the first Division I college player from that country is incredible. I don't care what anybody else says. When you come from a place like that where you don't have as many resources and you have to fight and dig, you have to meditate, you have to visualize who you really want to become as a tennis player on and off the court. That's an accomplishment in itself. So well done to you, Abhi. Thank you for joining the Level Life podcast. This was truly an honor and a blessing for you to come on. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. And this will be premiering next week. So stay tuned in for the next episode of the Love of Life podcast. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in again. G-Man is out.